Hello everyone, welcome to Tactica Imperialis and to today's video. A very happy Christmas to those of you who are celebrating it. It is currently Boxing Day that I am recording this because I took Christmas Day off and it's been a very long term. I'm going to make a video hopefully before the new year or around the time of the new year, just talking about the hobby this year and the channel this year because well, that needs to be talked about, but that's for another day. Today, I'm doing a My Thoughts On video, and I would like to talk in particular about the Christmas preview, because on Christmas Day, as they have done before, GW dropped a short little preview article showing us some of the models that will be coming our way in 2021. We already know about, for example, the Death Guard, which got delayed a little bit, and a few other things, but they showed us a little bit more in this preview, which was really nice of them. And there's some actually really nice models here and some very interesting discussions, at least for me. So there's only actually really two segments to this, so I won't take too long over it, but we'll start with 40k. So we saw the Palatine back around the time that 9th edition was revealed. I think it was sort of around the time the Silent King was revealed. There was a bunch of models revealed at once, or teased at once, and the Palatine was one of them. But this model has now got its official release confirmed, as it will be making its debut in a box called Piety and Pain, a Drukhari and Sisters of Battle boxed game, which is a really nice combination of armies, very different style, but also two armies that play well off each other, because the Sisters are all about zealous dedication to the Emperor, and the Drukhari are all self-serving. It's a nice combination. I quite like it. And the contents of the box are as follows. So we are given the Palatine. As mentioned, we have the Palatine, a Retributor squad with a Cherub, and I think that's an Immolator, rather than an Exorcist. I think it's an Immolator because of all the flamers. So an Immolator as well. A very small Sisters force. And I think that if you're a Sisters player, you're probably thinking, well, that's not very much. Is it really worth it? We'll need to see the price point, I suppose, before we make that decision. On the Drukhari side, you get a squad of Witches, 10 of them, 5 Scourges, which I believe are some of the nicest models in the Drukhari range, a Venom, and a brand new miniature, Lilith Hesperax is back. So Lilith Hesperax, the leader of the Witch Cult of Strife, has been one of my favourite models for years. I remember the original Lilith coming out well, not the original, the previous Lilith model coming out in, I think, 2009 when the Dark Eldar got their 5th edition codex. And I remember it really fondly, and I also remember I think it was Jervis Johnson's Standard Bearer article about murdering your darlings. It was a lovely article that always stuck with me, and they used the Lilith model as an example. It's always been a real favourite of mine. This new Lilith, I think, is going to take some time to grow on me, because it's got a lot of the upsides of the original model with a dynamic pose. They haven't modified her too much. They've just added a little bit of extra armor in a few places. They've sort of bigged up the hairpiece, because why not? And they've reposed her, obviously. But at the moment, at least, I think I still prefer the original, but that may just be bias because it's the model I know rather than this new one. It's not a bad model by any means. It's quite a nice model. I just have a feeling it will be very interesting in terms of assembly, because especially down here with the foot and base, I think that this will be one component with the left leg and the base, because this join is very small, and I think it would be very dangerous to make that a join that you glue in. I think that should be sculpted in my personal opinion. I also saw an interesting Twitter post. I cannot remember who it was for the life of me when I saw this, sort of saying that as nice as the model is and it's a nice upgrade, GW's style of painting faces really doesn't suit female models. And I'm not really qualified to make a judgment, because I really like what they did with Marathi. As an example, I think the Daughters of Cain look fine, but I definitely think that the face here doesn't work in maybe this sort of style. And I don't know, maybe it's just the face isn't a nice design for me personally, but as there was an interesting post that someone made sort of about the painting style and how it works. But it's interesting either way, and it's a nice model in total. I also quite like that the skin is really pale compared to, oh, is it pale compared to the Drakari skin? No, not really. Sorry, maybe it's because I'm painting Witch Elves with a slightly less pale tone for so long that looks really pallid to me. It's probably just me. But nice model nonetheless, and an update that we knew was coming because this model was sort of teased alongside the Palatine in that video trailer a long time ago. So we knew Lilith was coming, and I think it's a nice upgrade. It's not a model that I would rush out and buy, though. Not that I'm a Drakari player, but it's not a model I'm going to rush out and buy. So we've got a few different shots from different angles. And then we came to Warhammer Age of Sigmar, where we got confirmation that in February, not January, February, because they're only going to release battle tomes sort of on a bi-monthly basis for a few months because of the impacts of the UK leaving the EU and other things like that. I think they've just sort of slowed down the releases a little bit. And they've shown off the Hedonites of Slaanesh Battle Tome update. So the Hedonites of Slaanesh are getting a new battle tome. It looks like this. And they've really pushed the mortal side of it versus the demonic that they had last time. Because up to now, Slaanesh has almost entirely had demons in AOS, and the mortals haven't really been there. In fact, the first mortal Slaanesh model that was made for Age of Sigmar especially was, I think, the Lord of Pain in, what's it called? Shadow and Pain. And then we got the Diachasm Warband as well, the Dread Pageant, and we've got the models that we saw a few weeks ago with Sigval the Magnificent, an absolutely gorgeous model. So they're definitely pushing the mortal over the demonic, though they will probably share the battle tome anyway, because it would be odd for Slaanesh to have two separate battle tomes when Tzeentch, Khorne, and Nurgle all just have the one with the two sides smushed together. I quite like this palanquin thing at the back. I was speculating with a few friends about this, whether it's a new war shrine, a unique monster. We don't know what this is going to be yet, but it's a really nice sculpt either way. And then they showed off a bunch of the new models. So first off, we have the Slick Blade Seekers with Exalted Steeds of Slaanesh. These are your heavy cavalry to contrast with the Hellstriders, who are more like light cavalry for mortals. I have to say, I prefer the classic steeds to the exalted ones. I think these guys are a bit much in terms of their design, the exalted steeds. They kind of remind me of the Pokemon Kingdra, but with legs. It's a weird design choice, but that's what it seems like to me. It's like Kingdra, but with legs. And overall, I think there's some really good dynamic poses for them. This unit champion is particularly really nice. I like this one a lot. But they're not a unit that I think I would absolutely demand of I must have this in my Hedonites army, though they are still relatively nice. On the other hand, you've got the Bliss Barb Seekers, which is the same kit, I assume, but swapping out the spear-wielding, glaive-wielding infantry, whatever they are, glaive infantry for archers. And these guys remind me a lot of Vanguard Paladors. This model in particular, the Stormcast Vanguard Paladors with the Griff Chargers, this model in particular really reminds me of them. And I really like how the archer is kind of out of her seat by miles. It really conveys a sense of dynamism and speed, which I really, really like. They look fast and they look like they're in motion. This one as well is leaning in as they load their arrow because they're having to lean over to keep balanced. This one again is it's a drive-by, well, ride-by I suppose, but it feels like it's a drive-by rather than a stop or slow canter whilst aiming. It feels like it's just a drive-by, which I quite like. And overall, again, nice models. The steeds aren't for me. I prefer the original steeds to the exalted ones, but they're still nice models. We also got to see they are called Slangor Fiendbloods. So we've had Zangors before, now we have the full return of the Slangors. We saw one in the Dread Pageant, now we get a full unit of them, and they look really nice. If you like Beastmen, Beasts of Chaos, that's their new name. If you like the Beasts of Chaos, then these guys will be right up your alley. And in any event, they are very, very, very nice models. This one reminds me a lot of the one in the Dread Pageant. And this one in particular, this is the one I dawdled on this one. This is definitely my favourite of the three. And they feel like they'll probably be your mortal equivalent to Fiends of Slaanesh. Like, they'll be tanky, they'll be relatively fast and really punchy. So I think if you're running a Mortals army, this will be your answer to the Fiends in the Demon army in terms of your shock cavalry, because you've already got heavy infantry in the form of the Twin Souls and the Pain Givers, the Cyberesh, or whatever their name is, that come with Sigvald and the heavy infantry. And finally, the sort of basic infantry is archers. They've actually not got a basic light infantry unit that we're aware of. From the lore article we got, I don't think we're going to get one. The Blissbarb archers, as this unit are called, are the basic infantry and the lowest rung of Hedonite society, and I think these guys will actually be the baseline infantry for a Hedonite army. And these models are really nice. They've got a really exotic vibe, which you'd expect from Slaanesh. They've got some nice dynamic poses that sort of sit them apart from other archers. This one's actually really nice. I quite like this action stood on a rock pose. I don't know why, I just do. I love the back of these arrows. They're really weird, but I like them. The bows are really nice. You've got a gentleman here. And there was a post by, I think it was Oculus Imperia, talking about like gender equality through model design, because they have the same style of clothing and armor, whether it's male or female, which is a really good touch, and sort of fits with Slaanesh and anyway, so it makes sense. And I really like how they've managed to still play on the idea of excess with Slaanesh without going too far into things that you can't really say in a 12 plus game, which is useful. Again, nice pose here. Another nice model here, which is with the sword up. Got a nice dynamic pose with this one. You got the piercings, and I assume these are like branded jewelry almost rather than just being worn, particularly this one here. I think they're really good models. And this model here, a Bliss Brew Homunculus, which creates toxic brews for the archers to dip their arrows in. So you'll have poisoned arrows. Maybe you'll be able to have 2 firing modes where you can have snapshots, or you can take the time to dip your arrows in the poison, so you only fire 1 shot, but it does more damage. Say it has rend, or maybe instead of having rend, it has +1 to wound because it's poisonous, you know. So I'll be interested to see how this works mechanically. It's, again, a nice model, and I like the fact that even though it's a homunculus, it still looks absolutely vicious and right in line with the other models, which is great to see. And that's actually all we got for this article. But we know, obviously, the Hedonites are getting Sigvald, they're getting the Twin Souls and the Pain Givers as well, the 2 units of heavy infantry. And they do say at the bottom of this article that there is plenty more to come. So, for example, this Palanquin, I assume. I'm hoping they also update Demonettes, because Demonettes are probably the most out-of-date models in the Slaanesh range now, apart from Hellstriders. Oh boy, Hellstriders. They're not good at all. But, well, for me, I remember saying a long time ago sort of how much I like the Keeper of Secrets, and it's no secret that as an Elven player, I am very involved in the story of Slaanesh in terms of how it works, because it revolves around the Elven races with Morathi and Malerian and Teclis and Tyrion and all of that. But with Broken Realms, and then there's Keeper of Secrets, and Sigvald in particular, I fully admit that I am very tempted to get a Hedonites of Slaanesh army. Not a Demon's army, a purely Mortals army, just as something different, for one, but also a way to sort of, you know, paint different colours, and play an army that isn't Order. And I know it's weird, this has been the slow corruption by Slaanesh of Tactica Imperialis. You've seen it happen in real time over several years, talk about long-term booking. But yeah, I actually really think I might be tempted to get a small army of Hedonites built around Sigvald, a Lord of Pain as sort of their adjutant general, the heavy infantry, the archers, Hellstriders, because I've got Shadow and Pain, so I can literally just do that. and then add in maybe 1 or 2 units of these cavalry. Maybe Slangor, but they sort of diverge from the fully sort of human aesthetic I was going to go for, and then some archers to be my core battle line instead of demonettes, because demonettes suck aesthetically. So yeah, I get the feeling it won't be right away, because I'm looking around my desk at the moment and I've got Dread Spears and Dark Shards and Blackguard and Black Dragons and Venari and Alarith and Melisai and Kinnerai all around me saying, come on, get it built, get it painted. But I think there will come a day, and it may end up being a hobby project, because an Elfin Adventure Season 3 probably isn't going to be a thing. There may end up being a few videos one day where I actually do make a Slaanesh army and try a few things. Since I've got the Hellstriders and Lord of Pain from Shadow and Pain already, it's something I'm tempted to try. But overall, that has been my thoughts on the Christmas preview 2020, Hedonites, Habits, and Hecatarii. It's a nice little short preview. It's not quite as impactful as the Gloomspite Git stuff when they teased that back in 2018, but still, it's impressive, and I think the new Lilith model is pretty good. I think Piety and Pain, if they price it right, will be a really good value box set for Drukhari players, with the new codex that's coming out as well. And the new Slaanesh stuff, as I've said, not so keen on the Exalted Steeds, but I like the aesthetic of the Riders, same with the Archers. The Slangor are really nice, and the Blissbarb Archers are a good combination as well, alongside Sigvald and the other heavy infantry, which I really like. So, good stuff overall. With that all said, thank you very much for watching. This has been Tactica Imperialis. I hope you have had a fantastic Christmas, if you've been celebrating it, and I hope you all have a happy new year if I don't get to speak to you before 2021. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all again. Bye for now.